Hello, I'm Kate Thomas, and this is At Home Radio, a podcast about feeling at home where we are, whether in our own space or out in the world. With only weeks to go before the November 3rd election, during a pandemic, no less, a lot of us have concerns and questions about voting. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of checking your voter registration, your options for voting in the November general election, and an easy and no cost way to access unbiased, that's another important point, unbiased information about candidates and issues. My guests today are Carol O'Connell, President of the League of Women Voters of Hudson, also known as LWV Hudson. You'll hear LWV a lot. And Beverly Dorson, Voter Service Chair of LWV Hudson. The leagues all work together to fulfill the organization's mission. Welcome, Carol and Beverly.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Let's start with the League of Women Voters itself. It's a nonpartisan organization. Bev, what is its mission?
Our overreaching mission in League of Women Voters is to encourage informed and active participation in government and to influence public policy through education and advocacy. That's our League of Women Voters US, League of Women Voters Ohio, and League of Women Voters Hudson mission statement. We all have the same one.
And you're all kind of partners with each other in fulfilling this mission.
Exactly.
Okay. So, Carol, how long have you been involved in the league?
Well, I'm relatively new to the league. I've only been involved for about 3 years, starting from seeing that the league was very involved in the fair districting, and that's how I signed up. And when I went to my first league meeting and saw all the energetic and passionate and well-educated and informed women running this organization, I turned to one of them and said, I think I'm home. And so I've been there ever since.
That's wonderful. So how about you, Bev?
Well, I have a lengthy history, probably 45 years. I guessed 50 when we first talked, but then I thought about it, and I remember, this is my story, that I got involved because one of my husband's professors, we were working at Hiram College, and she invited me, and they had babysitting. And I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and that seemed like heaven. But then when I got involved, I was so excited because it was the first time since college and teaching that I actually had a place I felt like home. Carol used that word. They were educated. They talked about things that seemed important to me at the time. And I really like that we're a multifaceted group. We don't have a single issue. Our mission overall is informed voting, but we also have many positions on different topics in the world today, and that's continued and evolved.
That's great. Okay, so I have some other questions for Carol. What's the number one thing that people need to do soon if they want to vote this November?
Well, definitely the number one thing is to register or to check your registration. As you know, last summer, there was a voter purge. And so people were purged if they hadn't voted in the last 2 general elections. But however, there were errors. And so people actually were purged even if they had. So it's very important to just check your voter registration. And of course, if you're not, to register. The other thing that people often forget to do is if they move, they forget to change their address, voting address. So actually, when we do voter services events, I would say a chunk of what we do is to help people change their address. So the first thing to do is register and make sure you're registered.
Okay. So how? How do people check on their registration?
There's multiple ways to do that. But the one that we really encourage people to do is to go straight to the source. Meaning go to the Secretary of State's website. The Secretary of State is responsible for all the elections that happened in Ohio. There are county boards of elections, and they all funnel up to the Secretary of State. So the Secretary of State's website has all the up-to-date information that you need, and that is simply voteohio.gov.
Okay, it's an easy one. I did it, and I found my voter profile page, and it's got name, address, it's got the polling location, precinct, and the congressional, Senate, and state rep districts. So that's really good. It's, you kind of feel like, okay, I'm on the records.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel real good about that because I really like to go vote, and I go and I don't know if I missed too many elections at all. Definitely not the every 4-year one, the big general one. But even so, I don't think I've ever, missed very many, even the local ones, because those are important, really important too.
Absolutely. I'm such a voting geek that I take a selfie and post it on Facebook. So.
I know. I think it's, like, oh, vote. And I like having the little sticker, and I put it in my calendar, and,
When my son was little, I would take my son to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this thing of like taking your kids to vote is kind of a cool thing if you've got young kids to do that. Maybe not in the pandemic year, but in other years.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Okay, speaking of the pandemic, what are people's options for voting?
Well, I'm glad you asked because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and we try to keep as up to date as possible. So there's basically 3 ways to vote this year. The first is absentee ballot. And we've had absentee ballot for a number of years. It's called no excuse. You don't need an excuse to vote absentee. Anybody can do that. You do, however, need to request an absentee ballot by your county board of elections. And to do that, you print out an application form and send it into your county. You can do that by going onto your county board of elections or going to that voteohio.gov. Or in September, every registered voter is going to get an absentee ballot request form. So you can wait for that as well. We are advocating that people do it early because we expect an onslaught of applications that can easily overwhelm Board of Elections. So once you do that, after starting October 6th, the state will then mail out your absentee ballot. And you have several ways to get that absentee ballot to the Board of Elections. You can mail it with 2 stamps, drop it in a mailbox, give enough time before the election, or there will be 1 drop box per county at the county Board of Elections of your county where you can drop it in a secure drop box or actually go hand it in. So that's the absentee ballot.
Yes, and for Summit County, it's 470 Grant Street in Akron.
Yes, and they're going to actually reroute their drop box. They're going to have cameras, and they're going to have it much more well marked. So they're really going to prepare for this.
Oh, excellent!
Yeah, I just found that out. The second way that you can vote is vote early. So there will be days, many days, including 2 weekends, where you can actually go to your county board of elections and vote. You vote just kind of like in a booth that you would at the day of the polls. You just go in there. You will have to do social distancing, so masks and the 6 feet, but you can go do that. And I would encourage people to either go to that again, voteohio.gov, or they will direct you to your county board of elections because each county has different hours. So that's another great way to do it. You can do it at your leisure, pick a time when it's not so crowded and go. And then, of course, the final way to vote, which is the way a lot of us do like to vote because there is something patriotic or something important about going the day of, is actually voting on the day of election. So you can still do that. You will have to wear a mask to vote and adhere to social distancing. One interesting thing about voting the day of election is that they do have curbside voting. Now, they've always had curbside voting for people with disabilities, in which they have one member of each political party come out and actually watch the person do the ballot and vote. This year, you can just say that I feel uncomfortable and unsafe going in to vote because of COVID, that I would like to do curbside voting. And people who don't want to wear masks will also be required to do curbside voting. So that's like one kind of different thing that's happening this year. So those are your 3 ways.
So there really are a lot of ways. And if you're at all concerned about getting out there and voting because of the contagiousness of the virus, there are ways to avoid that.
Absolutely. And we're really encouraging people to vote by absentee. We really think that's going to be the safest way, the easiest way to do that.
Oh, I'm glad you're back, Beverly. because I'm about to ask you some questions. But first of all, I just want to say, okay, let's say you're registered and are confident that you're going to get out there and vote, but you'd like to be more informed about the candidates and the issues on the ballot. So something that anyone can do, again, free and easy, is check out vote411.org, a user-friendly, multifaceted site sponsored by the National League of Women Voters Education Fund. Do you say, okay, Bev, is it vote 411 or 411? What do people say? Can she hear me? Carol, do you know?
Yeah, so we say vote 411 because 411 is information.
Okay.
So we say vote 411. By the way, it's also an award-winning website. We just won a Webby Award, so very proud of that.
Wow. That is really excellent. I like it. It's it's fun to look around in it, around and see what's what. And you can go there and get a link directly to the Secretary of State's page and get. Because I got my voter profile first on vote411.org, then also did it on the voteohio.org. So that was really good. Bev, are you with us?
I'm back on, and I don't know what happened at all.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That just happens. So I've got a question for you, Bev.
Okay.
As voter service chair for the Hudson League, how are you involved with Vote 11?
Well, the League of Women Voters of the U.S. provides us with this computer program that's available all over the country, and it has a multifaceted way to inform voters. The League of Women Voters of Ohio helps by contacting the judges through a website called Judicial Votes Count, and we import the local judge information into our Vote 411. The State League also gives us guidance on questions to ask and splits up responsibility of contacting candidates throughout the state. After publishing, each site can be accessed nationwide wherever someone is in their voting area. All candidates that a voter has on their local ballot can be viewed before voting in person, even printed out, and are available early voting and absentee voting too. This is a way to reach a much larger audience than our local voters guide and candidate and issues forums ever could. It's really exciting that that happens and can happen.
Sure. And it is a good way to be informed and not in a, and again, unbiased about the candidates and well informed about the issues.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very good. So what do people really find on it? How do you encourage people to get to this site? Okay,
we have not a coalition, but a partnership with the Akron Beacon Journal, and the editor there has worked with us this will be the third cycle, I believe, and he prints a partial voter's guide into the month before voting, early voting time. We also share with Akron a print version that we are going to be able to deliver to many places, such as senior living places, churches, libraries. We also let the librarians know, the reference librarians know about our site as well as the print guide. So this helps a lot because it spreads the information as far as we're able. I think we're ordering 10,000 copies with Akron, and we're sharing by taking 3,000 of those. So that comes out of our budget.
Okay. And what's on this information guide? Is it, a description of the issues?
It's our complete Vote 411. The editor of the paper, the editor of the print guide imports the answers the candidates had given us, their biographical data, their background, and the answers to 6 or 7 questions we asked them.
Yeah, so, and not one word is changed when
not one word is changed.
Their answers.
And they have a picture. They import a picture. That's the only thing I help them with occasionally. That sometimes seems to be a challenge because the candidates are, a lot of them are young, but some are before, they weren't in the beginning computer age. So that's a little difficult.
Yes.
I think it's a wonderful way to get information on our president, which the U.S. handles, on our state offices. And this year, the state of Ohio is handling the Supreme Court race, which is a little bit contested this year. So you can find out
the State League of Women Voters.
Yes, the State League of Women Voters. And then we do all the area, including our U.S. House of Representatives. So for instance, in Akron, there are 4 they divide Akron with gerrymandering into 4 different U.S. races, U.S. House. We have one in this area that covers Geauga County, Portage County. So we're all split up, but we attempt to get all the candidates to respond to our email invitation and to complete our questionnaire. Now, we don't always get all of them. And if we haven't gotten them, that's kind of a sign about perhaps they should be more responsive. We try many ways, with phone, with email, because we want to be sure that, we're not accused of any partisanship and that we give them all a chance.
Do you keep a log of all the times you've pestered them?
Well, I don't know. It's interesting to me that you find out a lot. Personally, I find out a lot just by doing this guide.
Yes,
I'm not going to share what I learned.
Right, of course you won't. That's good.
I'm very excited about doing this, and I'm excited we're getting it done this year before early voting begins. It's all every year you think, oh, I've got this handled. I know how to do it. This is my 5th year of doing it. And every year there's a little wrinkle. For instance, did you know that our Ohio Board, Department of Education representatives, how they figure out who they represent is there are 33 senators in the Ohio House or Ohio Senate. So each of our elected school board representatives at the state level represent 3 districts, so that they get only a smaller number of representatives on the school board. And we have to wait that they're certified in the largest county that they serve in. So we wait for the Cuyahoga County Board of Election to certify them, because we never post anything that a candidate hasn't filed correctly and gotten certified.
I got that. So it's a waiting game.
It is a waiting game. And there's a 60-day filing. There's a 90-day filing.
Okay.
So we're waiting for the September 4th finished filing date. Then we'll have it all.
That's great. Well, thanks for your pestering, Bev, and of all the candidates. And thank you for all the work you're doing on vote411.org. So that's wonderful. Carol, is there any last things you'd like to say about voting this year?
Just do it. It's really, people have fought really hard throughout our time to ensure that everybody has a vote. And I know it can be discouraging to feel like, oh, does my vote matter? But there have been elections that have been won and lost within 1 or 2 votes. So the short answer is yes, your vote matters. So please vote. That's my message.
You bet. Okay. Thank you, Bev and Carol. In the next couple of episodes, we'll talk about the value of voting on all levels of government and also the crucial need for poll workers. I'm Kate Thomas with At Home Radio. Until next time, please consider voting. Thanks.